What would you do if you were the last passenger to board a flight, only to hear the pilot call you by a military rank you left behind years ago? In today's heartwarming story, a humble single dad boards Flight 204 with his young son, expecting an ordinary trip home. But when a shocking announcement echoes through the cabin, his hidden past is suddenly revealed to everyone on board. What follows is an emotional reunion, a long overdue thank you, and a powerful lesson about courage, sacrifice, and true heroism. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. And let's get started. Michael Carter adjusted the strap of his worn travel bag as he hurried through Chicago O'Hare Airport with his 8-year-old son, Ethan. Their connecting flight had been delayed, and they were the last passengers called to board Flight 204. Ethan struggled to keep up, holding a small backpack almost as big as himself. Despite the rush, Michael remained calm, offering his son an encouraging smile. Years of military service had taught him how to stay composed under pressure, though few people around him knew anything about his past. When they finally stepped onto the aircraft, several passengers glanced their way before returning to their phones and conversations. To everyone else, Michael looked like an ordinary single father, traveling home after a tiring trip. He wore simple jeans, a plain jacket, and comfortable shoes. Nothing about his appearance suggested that he had once led dangerous rescue missions in some of the world's most hostile environments. Ethan settled into the window seat, while Michael stored their bags overhead. As he fastened his seatbelt, he felt relieved to finally be seated. The past few years had been devoted entirely to raising his son. Since losing his wife, Ethan had become the center of his world. Michael rarely spoke about his military career anymore. The medals, awards, and memories were packed away in boxes at home, replaced by school events, bedtime stories, and soccer practices. A few minutes later, the cabin doors closed and the aircraft prepared for departure. Then the captain's voice came through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we leave the gate, I would like to welcome a very special passenger on board today, Colonel Michael Carter. It is an honor to have you flying with us." The cabin instantly fell silent. Heads turned in every direction as passengers searched for the man being mentioned. Michael's eyes widened in surprise. He had not used his military rank in years. Beside him, Ethan looked up with curiosity and amazement, realizing there was a remarkable chapter of his father's life. He had never fully known Flight 204 touched down smoothly in Dallas. As passengers prepared to leave their seats, the usual sounds of seatbelts clicking and overhead bins opening filled the cabin. Michael Carter remained seated for a moment, allowing the crowd to move first. Ethan sat beside him, still thinking about the captain's unexpected announcement before takeoff questions filled his mind. But he waited patiently, sensing that his father preferred not to draw attention to himself. As the line of passengers slowly moved toward the exit, a tall pilot appeared at the cockpit door. Instead of greeting travelers as they passed, he scanned the cabin until his eyes settled on Michael. His expression immediately softened. Leaving his position, he walked directly down the aisle. The conversations around them faded as passengers watched with curiosity. When the pilot reached Michael, he stopped and stood perfectly straight. Then, to everyone's surprise, he raised his hand in a formal salute. "Colonel Carter," he said with emotion in his voice, "I've waited 12 years to thank you." Michael looked closely at the man and suddenly recognized him. Memories of a dangerous rescue mission overseas came rushing back. Before he could speak, the pilot continued, "My crew and I were trapped after an attack. We thought we wouldn't make it home. You led the team that came for us. Because of you, I got to return to my family." The pilot's eyes filled with gratitude. Michael shook his head modestly and extended his hand. "I was just doing my job," he replied. "No, sir," the pilot answered. "You saved our lives." Ethan watched in amazement as the two men shook hands. For the first time, he understood why the captain had honored his father. Michael wasn't just the caring dad who helped with homework and attended soccer games. He was also a man who had risked everything to save others. Before they left, the pilot invited Ethan into the cockpit for a photo. As they walked through the terminal, afterward, Ethan held his father's hand, proudly knowing he was walking beside a true hero.